So I'm remounting my Kirkey seat inside the car. I'm doing this a little differently. I'm not sure exactly how safe this is going to be. I went with 4" by 4", a quarter thick inch aluminum on both sides. I bought 36 inches of it, and I've just cut it to fit. I'm going to be bolting the Kirkey up side mount style. I'll probably do some radius cuts back here later on to get some different angles if the seating position becomes a bit much for me. I'm not sure if it will, but if it does, I've set it up as close as I could with some wood shims behind it to try and get the angle right, and I think it'll turn out okay. The Kirkey, as you can see, has been drilled out on the sides. The hardest part about this job has been just making sure everything's lined up real nice. On the bottom, as you can see, I've knocked out the mounts for the stock seat, and I've just welded in some material. I would really recommend, if you're going to do this, to get some backing material on it. In fact, just cut some sheet off of the mounts themselves, hold it to the back, and just tack it in. It makes it a lot easier to fill those holes up. I didn't do that in the first one, and it's just disgusting. I mean, you can see, if you look real close, you see that little hole right there. There's some little holes. It's just a nasty job to have to do. The bottom, I'm going to end up, as you can see, there's nothing there. I'm still fitting it. What I'll end up doing here is getting some big washers to put around it, or I might cut some channel out and then fill in that gap to try and get it some backing, because this stuff is pretty thin, and I'm afraid it's going to pull through if I was to get an accident of any sort. I'm using pretty high-grade hardware. I mean, this is, grade 10 stuff with a Teflon locking bolts. So I shouldn't have an issue with it backing out on me, but we'll see how it goes. I'll end up trimming these down a little bit and taking off sharp edges and doing some finishing touches, but so far so good. This isn't a bad way to do it. You do have to massage the transmission tunnel quite a bit to try and get yourself situated even with the steering wheel. I'm still a little bit off. It's not perfectly center. So what I did is I actually tilted the seat about 2 degrees to the right. So that way my plane of view is still center with the steering wheel, although my body position is a little off. My brain seems to be okay with that. The correction factor, since I can move my neck back and forth, we'll see when I get on track about it. But it should hopefully work in theory. All the turbo stuff's done. Everything, well, I mean, I've still got to plumb in the blow-off valve into the intake hose, but I'm just making sure that the blow-off valve's operating correctly before I do that. I had some flutter earlier with a really light spring in it. I've got the wastegate wired open right now. I'm just going to see how much boost I can build. Try and keep it real conservative while I tune, and slowly go from there. I've still got the stock PCV valve in, so I got a feeling I'm going to start pressurizing the crankcase. So when I come back, if the dipstick's popped, then I'll know that I need to either invest in a check valve or try and find one from a 323 GTX. But if not, well, I don't know. We'll see. The car's coming along nicely. Stay tuned.